Hello everyone, this is Manjula Devi P, Assistant Professor, GFGC Kanakpura. In this session, we are going to discuss about Strategic Management of BBA 6th semester, Bangalore University. In that, Unit 3, Strategic Planning. In this unit, we are going to talk about the topic Business Cycle. Basically, the topic was strategic planning during business cycle. So, what I thought, let me first talk about business cycles in this session. Maybe you have studied about business cycles in economics or maybe in your previous classes, but still I want all of you to get a clear-cut idea about business cycles and the variables which matters in business cycle. And then we can link the concept of strategic planning with the business cycle. Okay. So, in this session, we will discuss about business cycles. What is a business cycle? It is also called as trade cycles. The rhythmic fluctuations in aggregate economic activity that an economy experiences over a period of time is called business cycles or trade cycles. Now, if I want to put it in simple words, it refers to alternate expansion and contraction of overall business activity manifested in fluctuation in measures of aggregate economic activity such as gross national product, employment and income. If you still want it to be in simpler words, it is nothing but the fluctuations in the economic activity in terms of the demand, supply, the aggregate production, the GDP, the level of national income, the level of employment. So, you would have experienced it already. Like right now we are in a pandemic situation. What is the level of economic activity now? What is the aggregate demand for consumer durables? Durables, for example, we have fridge, washing machine, TV, bike, car. So, these are all called as consumer durables. What is the demand? Is the people buying more and more of all these durables? No, isn't it? So, now we are basically trying to manage our life with the non-durables, like all those FMCG products, like fast moving consumer goods like soap, toothpaste, groceries, vegetables. These are all the non-durables. So, now our main concentration is just to stick to it, isn't it? We don't want to buy new shoes, we don't want to buy new saris or we don't want to replace the old washing machine, isn't it? So, again demand for bikes, cars, even jewelry, it is all decreasing. Though recently we had Akshaya Tritiya, usually during Akshaya Tritiya people rush to gold shops to buy golds and other jewelries, but this time there was not so. Even there was an option of online purchase, but still the activity was less than 50% as per the one of the survey. Why is that so? Why is it that in some time people would spend money lavishly on luxuries and comforts, and why at some times people don't want to spend more? People want to keep the minimalism as a concept, isn't it? So, this is all because of the economic condition of the economy, of their household as well, isn't it? So, that is best explained in the concept called business cycles. So, in the business cycle in any economy for that matter, whether you are in India, whether you are in UK, US, Switzerland, wherever you are, this business cycles are present. We cannot say that in the developed economies there are no business cycles, every time it is always a boom, or in the developing economies it is always depression. No, it is not so. It is common for every economy for that matter. Now, let us see clearly what are the fluctuations, in what terms the fluctuations happen, and during each phase how does the macroeconomic variables would work. Excuse. The phases of business cycles can be broadly divided into expansion phase, or it is also called as upswing phase. Then there is something called as peak, or it is also called as boom phase or prosperity phase. Then we have something called as contraction, or it is also called downswing, or most commonly you would have heard the term recession. So it is also called as recession. Then we have trough or depression. Even this you would have heard the term depression. Then there is something called recovery. Okay. Let's see what are these phases and how does the macro variables work under each phase. So I have given one diagram here. You can see this diagram where in the x axis I have put time, in the y axis I have put GDP, real GDP. Usually the economic activities are measured in terms of GDP. So in this x axis, y axis, and here I have a movement, a curvy movement where I have something called as expansion, then it goes to the top, peak, then there is a downfall, I call it as contraction, then it is at the bottom, very bottom of it, then I call that as trough, or it is also called as depression. Then again there is an expansion, then it reaches the peak, then goes contraction. So it is keep moving in this thing, and there is one dotted line which is going upwards, it is called as the trend. So what does this mean? So why during different parts of time I have different levels of GDP. At peak the GDP is at the highest, at trough or depression the GDP of the economy is lower or lowest in fact, then during contraction the GDP is decreasing, during expansion or we also call it as recovery the GDP is increasing. So why does this happen, or what are the impact of all these fluctuation on the day to day life, on the business or on the common man? Okay, let's see. So if we go back to the stages again, the most challenging part or the actual topic of this session was strategic planning during business cycles. But anyway, I would like to deal with business cycles first. Now just to connect what we were talking about initially, see, you all know strategic planning is done at the management level. It's a very important management activity which decides the future course of action. So now, because of this business cycles, how strategic planning gets affected. So I had kept some forecast, some these things of the present situation, and I have made a strategic plan. Now what if the dynamics of business cycles change? Right now, say it is a boom phase for one sector and I keep planning according to this present scenario, and suddenly the dynamics in the market changes and it happens to be a recession. So then my plan, the level of production I had planned, or the level of economic activity, the people I have recruited, so then what will happen? Then I will be overburdened. I had planned an expansion. See, most of the things may be halfway. I have recruited so many people right now, but there is a recession, there is no much production happening. So then what am I supposed to do? Isn't it? I can't simply keep the people, I have to pay them the salary unnecessarily. Now I have to go for retrenchment, there is no other option, isn't it? Or I have to cut down my stock level, or I have to dispose the excess stock at the at the discounted prices. So that means whatever the strategic planning we have made or we have been executing, it is definitely affected by the business cycles. Or while doing the strategic planning itself, if the managers have a clear-cut idea about this business cycles, the different phases, if they are able to read the variables in the economy, if they are able to see at which stage right now the economy is it in the depression or is it in the recovery, is it expansion or is it at boom, or right now if this is the scenario, what might happen in the next few years or in the next my planning phase. So if they have a clear-cut idea about it, then they can have more accurate strategic planning. Yeah, so now with each phase the dynamics change. So in the next sessions we will study about the different strategies. We have something called restructuring, we have something called expansion, we have something called retrenchment strategy. So all those things we'll see, which goes in line with the changes in the business cycles. Okay, one second, let me just. So the different phases I was talking about. So the first phase, what I was talking about was expansion, if you see here. So what happens in the expansion phase? Expansion phase is generally in the economy where there is creation of more and more employments, where the business people or the managers or even the entrepreneurs or the producers, so they would be more optimist at this stage. Whenever there is expansion stage of any sector or the entire economy for that matter, they would be more optimist and they would take more loans from the banks or financial institutions, or they would reinvest whatever the capital they have. So they would expand their scale of operations. So whenever they expand, what happens? They want more people. So they recruit more people, so more laborers. So when there is more laborers, what happens? There is more employment opportunity in the market. People would get employment according to their caliber and according to their capability. So this is a phase where it's an optimist phase where everything is increasing. The employment opportunities for the people, the level of production in the economy, demand for raw materials. So as there is more production, so there is more availability of variety of goods to the consumers. So when there is more variety of goods to the consumers, standard of living would be more, it would be increasing. So you can see this phase where there is optimism everywhere, where people are getting jobs. The moment they get jobs, definitely their personal income level would increase. The income of the household increases means demand for goods and services would increase, isn't it? Especially the moment a boy or a girl freshly pass out, graduate, gets a job. So there will be a happy moment in the family, isn't it? So definitely after the first salary, so the person wants to buy new clothes, gift new clothes to the parents, buy sweets, buy new mobile phone, order or book a new bike, isn't it? So that means whenever there is creation of more employment opportunities, there is more demand created in turn for so many goods, both durables and non-durables for the consumers. And the production keeps increasing throughout this upswing or expansion phase. Then come to the, and one more thing here in the upswing phase, more demand for loans would increase. More demand for loan would in turn increase the interest rates, like RBI would increase the interest rate. There is more liquidity in the market because people are getting more loans. When they take more loans, again they'll disperse it. Say they want to construct a new factory, so they have to spend money for buying the materials, for buying laborers, for many other activities, for purchase of the machinery. That means there is more money circulation in the market. So this is the expansion phase where there is optimism everywhere, employment opportunities, income, salary, wages, everything is happening at the faster phase. The next thing comes to boom or prosperity or peak. So this is like the complete utilization, okay, the complete utilization of the available resources in the economy. That means every manufacturer is producing at the maximum capacity. So every person who is qualified is getting the job. So every organization is giving good amount of salary. So there is huge demand for the for the product. There is more supply. That means the demand and supply is going hand in hand in the market. Okay. So this is the phase where it's a happy phase, but at the same time this is something called a saturation phase. Like economy cannot keep expanding, isn't it? Suppose if you are blowing a balloon, so you can't keep blowing it. At one point it will be like the maximum, yeah, this is what it can take, isn't it? Same way in the economy, this is the stage where everything is at the optimum level, and this is a point of stagnation where there is no more production that can happen because it's already at the maximum level. No more employees can be taken because already the employees are full. So it's a saturation point, in fact, in the economy. Then after this saturation, there comes the contraction, or it is downswing. By this time already, it's like there was more production, there was more, manufacturers have taken a lot of loan, they are put for expansion, and the stock is more than what is in demand, because they were more optimistic, they had produced more stocks, and so much of stock lying in the market, and there are so many employees where the the salary or the overhead expenditure of the business is huge. So when the expenses are more, the profit margin is slightly decreasing. So then what happens? Suddenly they realize that there is more supply in the market than demand. What happens when there is more supply than demand? The prices decreases. Okay, the price for the commodity keeps decreasing. When the prices decrease, what will happen? The profit margin of the producer or the seller also keeps decreasing. So then suddenly the overheads are more. They have taken more loan, so they have to pay more interest. There are more employees, they have to pay more salary to them, and the profit margins are shrinking, and there is less demand in the market because it's already so many people have produced a similar product, or in fact there is more supply in the market than the demand, so prices are falling. So there the starting point of recession. So then slowly they keep stopping the production, or they keep reducing the production, they cancel the orders that they have given for the raw materials, and slowly they start downsizing the organization. Like slowly like whoever the recent employees, they start taking them off. Of course, in the later sessions we will see what are the different strategies they follow when it is recession. There may be downsizing, there may be retrenchment, there may be layoffs. So in such case what happens? Slowly people start losing jobs. Okay, when they start losing jobs, what happens? Their income, household income starts reducing. When the household income starts reducing, so then the problem, all sort of problem increase. Like when the household income is less, then obviously the demand pattern of the household also would reduce, isn't it? When you have a salary of 50,000, what would be your demands? And suddenly you lose the job, there is no salary. So what would be your position, isn't it? You might have already taken a car loan, you might have already taken a housing loan, you may already get accustomed to one standard of living, but all of a sudden there is no salary because you have been thrown out of the job. So there will be a lot of disturbance in the household front, isn't it? So there the recession actually happens. Then as the downfall, again the next stage comes as depression or trough. So this is the stage where it is at the lowest, it is at the bottom, the economic activity of the economy is at the bottom. Okay. So in all these years after this corona phase, we are seeing, we are constantly having this recession in the economy because the GDP is reducing, though there is increase in the number of production of sanitizer, production of PPE kits, production of hand washes and personal hygiene care products and the medicine especially, but the aggregate production is lesser than what it was before, because there are many luxury products or entertainment, comforts, all that has been cut down. People don't want to go for a tour now, people don't want to go for a movie, isn't it? So most of this entertainment sector has slashed down. So overall we can see there is a downswing or recession around. Then comes to depression. Depression is the least economic activity where everything is slowed down, like everything is, like there is huge unemployment in the market, there is huge scarcity of money in the market, there is more demand for the product but there is no much supply. Okay, so like right now we are seeing there is huge demand for vaccines but there is no enough production, isn't it? Or for maybe many other groceries, or maybe there is a huge gap between the producer and the consumer. Like maybe there are in some corner, say for agriculture products, somebody would have produced but it is not reaching the consumer, there is a huge gap, so there is a huge price difference. Okay, so that means the depression is a stage where all economic activities are at the lowest. Then again, as it is going down, it cannot keep reducing. Of course, there will be a point where it starts recovering. So especially in the market economy and also in the economy where ours, mixed economy, where both market mechanism and government intervention happens. So what is government intervention? So government take so many measures through its monetary policy, through altering its fiscal policy, through many other business policies, they try to induce, they try to inject liquidity to the market. Say they slash down the interest rates, they reduce the repo rate, they reduce the base rate, they would encourage more and more FDIs, they would encourage more and more FIIs, they would give more subsidies, they would give more agricultural loans, they would give more startup loans. Okay, they start all such plans or all such policies, so that slowly the economy starts growing, people would get confidence, they'll again start taking the new business loan or agricultural loan, slowly the production starts. As the production increases, that phase is called as the recovery phase. So earlier we had discussed about expansion, so this is after depression, the same thing, it's called recovery, then after math it becomes expansion. So slowly they start getting the confidence in the market, and the level of production, the level of employment, the supply of goods, so everything starts increasing. This phase is called as the recovery phase. So every economy for that matter has to pass through all these phases. Now why would all these happen? Why would all these phases come into picture in any economy? As I said, we are living in a market economy. So in the market economy, mainly demand and supply matters, isn't it? So nowhere there is a mechanism to say this is the exact demand for a particular commodity, or to say this is the exact supply, because each individual has their own demand, each producer or supplier has his own way of supplying. Again, it mainly it depends on the seasons, it depends on the rainfall, it depends on the business policies, it depends on so many external factors, isn't it? So many international factors in fact. So all that mixed together, every economy is exposed to this business cycle. Now the question, during this business cycle, how would the strategic planning is done? Now you are in one particular phase, say you are in boom, you are in expansion phase, or the economy is in depression, or economy is recovery phase. Now as a business manager, as a strategist, what would be your strategies is all about the topic that we have for the discussion in the next session. Again, it's the most challenging part, because there is no one to say that, yeah, right now, okay, this company, very good, now it is boom, so go take the strategies related to boom. Or nobody would come to a manager and say, see, this is recession, slow down, this is how you have to plan. Because there is no clear cut what you call that formula to say what is the present scenario, whether are we expanding, are we in recession, are we boom, are we in depression, recovery. Like it depends how you read the economy. Okay, no RBI comes with the say that okay, from this period to this period it is going to be depression, or from now to next month it is recovery. No, it doesn't come like that. It's a natural process. It keeps increasing the economic activity, it reaches maximum, then it slow down, it reaches the bottom, then after some time it recovers. That means there is no fixed duration when it happens, like every 5 years there is a business cycle change. No, we cannot say that. Or every year there is going to be a business cycle change. No. Or once in 10 years. No. Again, how long the expansion would phase would remain, how long the boom would remain, no one has an answer, isn't it? So that means it is all uncertain, and you just have to constantly look into the macro variables like the interest rate, the aggregate demand, aggregate supply, aggregate agricultural production, especially the GDP of the economy. You just have to keep a watch on all of this, make a sense out of it, have a trend, and then get to know which phase it is and what is going to be the next phase, or what is that which is going to change the scenario. Okay, so being a strategic manager, you have to be open in observing all these data and then take the suitable planning or suitable decision regarding the business. So this is the most challenging work, being a strategist, to plan during the business cycles or keep the provision for the next cycle which is going to happen. Okay, so just to have a recap of what we discussed in this session, mainly every economic history says every economy has to pass through this business cycle or depression. Like Great Depression was in 1929, okay, in the European countries. Recently we saw 2008 recession in India. It actually started from US. So likewise it keeps changing. So now we are facing this COVID depression. In fact, hopefully we'll get through and we'll move ahead soon. Yeah, so just to have a quick recap, so there are periods of prosperity, periods of economic downturns, recessions, depression. So this all talks about the change in the GDP as a common parameter. So in each phase, the macro variables like economic, national income, individual income, disposable income, all that would change. So being a strategic manager, it's important to plan accordingly. Okay, so these are the references which you can go through for further clarification and further understanding the concept. In the next session, we'll discuss about what are the specific or type of strategies that is framed for to match with these phases of business cycles. Okay, thank you very much. We'll meet in the next session. Thank you.